All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the JPS meeting of August 2nd. Say, roll call, please.
Chair Renahan,
Here.
Member Chaplin,
Here.
Member Covert, Member Desart, Member Eckhoff, Member Garcia, Member Krajewski, Member Ozog, Member Pachowski, Member Schwarzy, Member Selman, Member Zay.
All right, great. Thank you. We have a quorum. Do we have any public comment this morning?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right. I just like to, as far as remarks, just like to thank our state's attorney, Bob Berlin, for being here today, and our public defender, Jeff York, to put in our budget presentations for next year. And make a note of our next presentations at JPS will be for the circuit court clerk and the coroner. With that, I'll call for, ask for motion to entertain the minutes of June 21st, 2022. A motion and a second. Questions, additions, all in favor? Any opposed? Those pass. All right, and without further ado, our state's attorney, Bob Berlin, budget presentation. Thank you and welcome.
Good morning. So let me start first with what we're asking for this year's budget, and then I'm going to go through an explanation as to what we've been dealing with and why we need the positions that we're asking for. So for the 2023 state's attorney budget, remember I've got two budgets, the state's attorney and the children's center, and I'll get to that one next. We're asking for $13,034,505, which is an increase over last year of about $1,766,000. It's a 15.7% increase. This assumes filling all of our positions. It includes a 4% equity adjustment for everybody, and it also includes 12 additional headcount, 10 state's attorneys, and 2 support staff. Currently, we have 14 open positions, 12 attorney positions and 2 full-time support staff. We have offers out to 12 people for those assistant state's attorney positions. 11 of them are bar takers. They actually just took the bar last week. So assuming they pass, we plan on filling all of those positions. And just in terms of a little historical background, in 2015, we eliminated 1 position. In 2016, we eliminated 9 positions. And our head count back then went from 150 down to 141. In 2018, we agreed to leave 8 support staff positions vacant, and we did not seek to fill those in 2019 or 2020. And then last year, we increased our head count from 142 to 147 due to the Safety Act. And the Finance Committee also created a contingency fund, which we did not have to access last year. So this year's budget includes filling all current positions, 2 new positions in victim services, 4 new assistant state's attorneys, which would be phased in, 2 on March 1st, 2 on May 1st. These are due to the increase in body-worn camera videos, which I'll get to in a minute. 2 new state's attorneys for our detention court, which we did not ask for in last year's budget. Those have to be second chair state's attorneys, people with some experience to handle these detention hearings, which are going to go on all day long. And then 3 new assistant state's attorneys to restructure our screening unit. Also, because of the huge increase in new state's attorneys, we're asking for 1 supervising position in traffic misdemeanor, where most of the new attorneys start. And then again, the equity adjustment for the entire staff. So our head count would increase from 147 to 159. We have met with and we are working with the finance department in regards to adding the head count, but keeping some of the funding budgeted in a contingency fund, just as we did last year. So here's what we're dealing with. And here's the reason for these additional attorneys. In terms of domestic violence cases, we went from 1,551 in 2020 to 1,571 in 2021, a 1.2% increase. Our DUIs, and these are not just state DUIs, but these are all DUIs charged in the county, including the municipal cases, were up 11.5% from 2020 to 2021. 2,654 cases filed in 2021. The good news is our felony indictments were down last year. They were down from 2,361 to 2,309. It's a 2% decrease, but it's actually 21% down from 2018. And I'm going to go through some of the major violent felonies and give you my opinion as to why they're down. Our burglaries, we charged 457 burglaries in 2020 when violent crime was at its highest. Those went down to 247, or a 46% decrease last year. That's great news. Now, unfortunately, so far in the first 6 months of this year, through June 30th, we're up 27%. Armed robberies, those were down 32%. We went from 46 in 2020 to 31 in 2021. And so far in 2022, we've charged 10. So if that carries through to the end of the year, we'd be down another 35%. Unfortunately, carjackings have stayed the same. If we go back to 2018, there were 4. In 2016, there were 16. And in 2021, there were 17. And unfortunately, 8 so far this year. So those have remained the same. Aggravated robbery and robberies were down 37% last year, and so far down 24% this year. That's all good news. And in my opinion, the reason those numbers are down is because of enforcement. Because we are very tough on violent crime. We ask for large bonds on those cases. Many are held with no bond. And the crimes that are committed with guns, many of them carry a 21-year minimum. And we prosecute those cases. And the word has gotten out. And that's why I believe those violent crime numbers are down. Unfortunately, aggravated batteries, they were down 15% last year. So far this year, they're up 11%. Our homicides have constantly stayed about the same year after year. We're usually between 5 and 10. We charged 8 last year. We charged 3 so far this year, and 5 in 2020, 6 in 2019. And for a county of our size, that is an incredibly low number of homicides. The most disturbing trend that we're seeing is with gun offenders, specifically unlawful use of a weapon by a felon. In 2019, there were 41. That number doubled in 2021 to 82. And so far this year, in the first 6 months, we've charged 58, which would compute out to 116, which would be up another 41%. So that's a huge increase from the 41 that we had back in 2019. I can tell you from looking at the cases that we've charged so far in 2022, 74% of these offenders do not live in DuPage County. 55% of them are from Cook County, and these are felons with guns, many of them with extended magazines. So the good news is our police are doing a great job of stopping them. But I can assure you, felons coming out to DuPage County with guns, they're not here to go shopping. They're here to commit crime, and that is a disturbing trend. So while overall our felonies are down, obviously there's certain violent crimes that remain a problem. And as I'm going to get to, actually now is probably a good time to put up the body camera slides if we have those. Do we have the two graphs that we can put up on the PowerPoint? Okay, well, and I apologize for that, but I can tell you this, in terms of body worn camera files, in 2021, for the first 6 months, we received from the police 3,736 files. So far, for the first 6 months in 2022, we've gone to 8,408. That is a 225% increase in body worn camera files. That number continues to go up exponentially. So the point is, all of these cases involve an incredible amount of work. As I've stated before, our attorneys have to watch every single one of those body worn camera files, and it's very time consuming. And I know that when Jeff York makes his presentation, I know he's going to say the same thing. So just some other things the board needs to be aware of. Unfortunately, when we talk about opioids, heroin, and fentanyl, our cases continue to go up. We saw a 32% increase in possession cases from 2019. There's 242 that are pending right now. It's very rare that we see heroin alone. It's always heroin mixed with fentanyl. We're seeing fentanyl mixed in cocaine, even fentanyl mixed with marijuana. So it continues to be a real problem. The good news is our focus court continues to be really the gold standard across the country. We have 1,285 cases pending in our focus court right now. And in the first 6 months of this year, we closed out 202 cases. These are all first-time drug offenders, and they're getting treatment and they're getting help. And if they complete the program, ultimately they get their case expunged. So it is a tremendous program that we've had great success with. Our juvenile cases, the cases that we filed were down 8% last year. The reason for that is because we're diverting more cases. We're doing more outside of court. Our juvenile probation department is the best in the country, period. They do an incredible job, and that's why we're able to keep those numbers down and only bring to court those juveniles who really need serious intervention. I have to mention firearm restraining orders. The statute in Illinois, this is the red flag law, says that the office of the clerk of the court shall provide simplified forms and clerical assistance to help with the writing and filing of a petition for a firearm restraining order. The statute also says, in addition, that assistance may be provided by the state's attorney. We have taken the position that we are going to help victims and people who want firearm restraining orders. And we've been very active in participating with our police agencies, training them, and we help victims draft these orders, and we actually go to court with them. In a 2-year period, 2020 and 2021, there were 115 firearm restraining orders in the state of Illinois. 72 of those 115 were right here in DuPage County. So that's 62% of them. Obviously, we have issued far more than any other county. And there's no question in my mind that those orders have saved lives. Many of these are people who are suicidal, or there's some type of domestic violence going on in the family. and the victims go to the police know what to do. They come to us and we are able to get these orders and safeguard people's guns until such time as they're able to get them back. Unfortunately, this has been a big issue in the news lately after Highland Park, but we will continue to have attorneys on call 24/7 to assist the public in getting these orders. Our diversion court, we've had 429 cases now accepted as of July 11th of this year. 304 have successfully completed the program. When they complete the program, case is dismissed, they can get an immediate expungement. We did a study of every defendant who has graduated from the diversion court, and in terms of who has been convicted of another case, 95.5% have not. So that is a 95.5% success rate. That speaks for itself in how successful our diversion program has been in keeping first-time nonviolent offenders out of jail and really out of the criminal justice system. Our child support, once again, $37.5 million in unpaid child support was brought in by our attorneys who prosecute those cases. This year, we entered into an agreement with DuPage Legal Aid. They are assisting the petitioners in child support cases in getting long-term assistance. They have expertise in divorce matters and family law matters, and that partnership has worked incredibly well. So in terms of the state's attorney's budget, once again, as I say every year, we've always lived within our budget, but we have to be prepared for the case that could break the bank if we have to go out and hire experts on any particular case. We will not negotiate cases or make plea offers on cases because we cannot afford to try them. That's never been the philosophy. It never should be. This board has always provided us with the necessary resources so that we can keep the county safe. If I could just get to go through the Children's Center budget quickly, and then I can answer any questions. Our Children's Center budget this year, we're asking for an increase of 24.5%. We're asking for $934,919. Almost all of it is because of salaries, but unfortunately, we saw a 13.7% increase in the number of cases opened at our Children's Center. These are sexual and physical violence against children cases. We accepted 323 in 2021, and that was up from 284 the year before. So the increase in our budget includes all positions being fully funded, plus salary adjustments for our investigators and case managers who remain very much underpaid. It also includes one new position, a case manager position, to handle the increase in the cases, as well as a 4% equity adjustment, and $22,000 for fuel, which was previously budgeted by finance. Again, these are some of the most disturbing cases. They're handled by a specialized unit in my office. Some of the most experienced attorneys handle these cases. We have agreements with all the police departments that if the case fits the protocol, our investigators investigate it from start to finish, and we prosecute these cases. And as I said, these physical and sexual abuse cases, unfortunately, know no boundaries. They're in every single community in the county, and they're very disturbing, but very important cases. Let me just finish with this. Part of what I believe our success is due to the relationships that we have with all of our other partners here in the county in the criminal justice system. Jeff York does an amazing job in the public defender's office. We talk all the time. And we have a great relationship, and we can discuss cases, he and his assistants. We've worked very well with Candace Adams, our circuit court clerk, our sheriff, Jim Mendrick, probation department, as well as our chief judge, Judge Popejoy, who's here today. Going through the changes that are required coming up on January 1st, when we eliminate cash bail, coming up with the forms that judges are going to have to use, as well as the build out of our facility and the expansion of that facility. So I just want the board to know that we meet all the time, and the cooperation has really been remarkable between all of these stakeholders in the criminal justice system. So that is what our budget is for the coming year. Again, obviously, it's the result of an increase in evidence, in certain cases, an increase in violent crime. But I continue to believe that our approach has been successful and will continue to be successful in protecting the people in this county.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bob, you said these files for the body cameras have gone up, obviously. Do we know, has every municipality got body cameras, or can we expect to see, because they had it tiered, I guess, in the Safety Act of, by size, are we going to see, another huge increase because more are starting to bring them on, or is everybody has cameras now in DuPage?
So I think we're almost at 2/3 of the police departments being on right now. I think there's over 1,300. We expect about 2,300.
So you can
so
see
there
that
will be
number
more
going,
coming
that
on.
number will be continue to go up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there will be more coming online in the next year or two.
Okay. Thank you.
Bob, with the Safety Act and its unfunded mandates, is that creating the increase that you're seeking? I think is reasonable. It's all about public safety, but how much of our increase is due to the unfunded mandates that we're seeing with this Safety Act?
Well, most of the increase that we're asking for is headcount, it's personnel, and it really is these body worn camera files and the digital evidence that's coming in. It's just, it has increased exponentially.
Because everyone I talk to, it's all about public safety, and I think you have been a strong advocate for, keeping criminals out of DuPage County. So I would support that. My only question is, what are we doing for the elderly? It seems to me, with elder abuse and financial exploitation, it's on the rise. Where are we at with that component of the state's attorney's office?
So we have a unit, our elder abuse unit, which is staffed. We have an assistant state's attorney there, Diane Michaelak, who does a great job. She's a first chair. We have investigators who help police investigate these cases. We work well with senior services and taking referrals. And we have, I believe, a tremendous track record in prosecuting those cases. They're labor intensive, many of the financial cases to investigate. But we use the grand jury to get bank subpoenas, and we have trained investigators who work with the police to investigate and then prosecute those cases.
All right. Thank you for your presentation too.
I'm sorry, a member to start was first, and I'm sorry, but please, and then
Thank you. Couple of legal questions. One is, I'm so glad to hear about the firearms restraining orders. That's wonderful. But who is charged with enforcing that? Like the Pratt murderer, the Pratt factory murderer, he was supposed to relinquish his firearms. Nobody came to his door to get them. So who in our county is charged with doing that? And are they staffed well enough to go door to door and get those firearms?
Right. So in that particular case, it wasn't a firearm restraining order. His FOID had been revoked. And
once your
and he
FOID is
still had
revoked,
his
shouldn't you
FOID
have to
card.
relinquish your weapons?
So when we get a firearm restraining order issued, if there, well, there's always going to be, well, not always actually, if there are guns in the house, a judge can and often does issue a search warrant. And the police then go execute that warrant and take those guns. We are working with the police, and we've actually had some success with the Naperville police in getting people's void cards that have been revoked, but they still have them and may still have guns. There obviously is a tremendous safety issue involved in enforcing
Right.
that law. And we've had discussions. I know there's been talk of regional teams, but it's something that we're still working on to try and do something more countywide
To enforce.
to enforce the situation where somebody's void card gets revoked.
Okay. Secondly, regarding the body cameras, does somebody have to look at the footage? All the footage of every officer every day, or just when a situation happens?
It's when there's a case.
Right, when it's a case.
Right. So the police are only sending us the body worn cameras of cases that are actually charged or cases that we are screening and reviewing. A lot of times they'll send us the footage so that we can review that.
Thank you.
And then we have to go through and redact some of the
yeah.
footage. If there are juveniles, let's say, that appear, we have to redact those before we make them available to the defense.
Gotcha.
Very time consuming.
And finally, as this is a budget discussion, my question is for Jeff Martinowitz. Jeff, if you could come to the microphone. I appreciate our professionals asking for what they need. I truly do. But the sheriff last week or 2 weeks ago asked for a 17.5 increase in his budget. The state's attorney is asking for a 15.7% increase in his budget. How is this sustainable? Do we have the money in our budget to give these professionals these increases of
Yeah,
15%, 17%?
we're still working through it, all of the requests. Right now, the budget as presented by all the departments in the general fund is in good shape, even with these requests, because of the high volume of revenue that we're receiving. But the sustainability, as you said,
That's right. I want to give everybody what they're
Yeah.
asking for, but can we?
Yeah, one of my
Yeah.
questions, to, Bob's staff yesterday was, do you see in the future the need for another 10, 20, 30 employees? We asked that of the sheriff too, because eventually it's going to be very hard to fund that. So, we saw this coming. We've been fortunate with our revenues, but at some point, that will slow down and, we'll be watching budgets very closely over the next several years. But for this year, we're in pretty good shape.
I'll take one more question from Member Ozog, and then we really need to move forward. We have another budget presentation. And State Attorney Berlin, will you be amenable to questions from the board offline as well?
Of course.
Okay, great. Thank you. Member Ozog, and then we'll move on to.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you first of all for your presentation today, Bob. My question is, would you have a guesstimate of how many police forces, municipal police forces had body cameras before the Safety Act?
Before the Safety Act,
Percentage,
maybe 3.
okay, so it was minimal.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I will say this, it's a huge cost. They have helped us immensely. They make our cases a lot stronger and they protect the police
Protect
officers
the officers, yes.
from, complaints that really have no merit.
Thank you
very
again for
helpful.
your presentation.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. I think we got some
Okay.
good information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, on to the public defender. Jeff, can you talk fast?
Okay,
Kidding.
try. Name that tune in 4 minutes. That's okay. Hi, how you doing? I'm Jeff and I'm the public defender and here's my budget. Let's go. And I'll do the clicking, okay? If that's okay. So we're projected slightly under budget. We're way under in personnel right now, although I'm going to add a lot of staff before the end of the year. And we're way over in professional services. I need about 600 grand more. By the way, they said play it straight, so I'm playing it straight. There's another boring slide. So let's actually start. I can't keep that up. I have to impress you somehow without entertaining. What else do I have? Okay, so first, thank you for the construction project, your attention, your questions, and then coming through. It's a big deal. It's not currently this bad, but by the end of the year, I'll have 5 attorneys in former file rooms, 1 in an intern cube and 1 in a cube that doesn't have a front wall that we used to use for storage. So it's getting bad. I also want to say thank you to Candace Adams. She's going to take all our mail. Apparently the 421 building was paying for our mail and She pays for a lot of the other departments in the courthouse. And when I had to pay for it, I asked if she would, and she said yes. So her budget's gonna go up in stamps. So let's talk about numbers. I have kind of categories of based on, can't hear it, but those are crickets. I don't have any light items went down. Oh, they're there. I don't have any, sorry. Line items that remain the same. There's a few, and you don't really care about those. Stuff costs more and I have more people, right? So line items that went up, I need more furniture because I have more people. I have to pay for mileage and travel stuff, memberships. Sorry, couldn't think of anything else for memberships. Because I have more attorneys, I need to pay for dues, ARDC fees, things like that. Instruction, schooling, we have a lot of notaries, and that's only total about $7,000 more than this year. A lot of those things were reduced during COVID. I didn't need to send people out. I didn't have to do as many off-campus kind of things. So these are our new line items these are budget neutral that were previously assigned somewhere else and now they're in ours. It's about 14,000, but again, that's not really us. Predicting gas and fuel and mileage is really hard. So I did the best I could based on prior years, but also what gas prices are. All right, so those of you still here, hold on. So these are line items that went way up, not just up, way up. There's 4 of them. And you don't have to take all this in or take notes. It's okay, I'm gonna break this up. So operating materials and supplies. So now we need to pay for our own papers and pens and paper clips. I love Post-its. Statute books, online research. Statute books and online research go up a little bit, but a lot of these things we used to get a lot of stock items, they called them, that were in some other budget that wasn't charged to us. So a lot of this increase, most of it is really budget neutral because we're paying for our own things. Professional services was one of those line items. And this is worth talking about a little bit. This is anecdotal, I don't have numbers, but there are more serious cases regarding experts than the past. And the expert fund, I have about $92,000 this budget year in that, pays for transcripts and experts. It's wildly unpredictable. Some years I spend 30, some years I spend way more. We just did a budget transfer. We're out of the 92 already, and we still have a lot of time left. And sometimes there are cases that just take a lot of attention or an expert that we can't control what cases Mr. Berlin charges and the experts it requires to defend them. And one thing I understand the state's attorney's office isn't going to compromise because of money, but neither am I. I'm not going to shortchange a client because we can't afford a fingerprint expert or we can't afford a second look at DNA or whatever. So we're not spending wildly and unnecessarily. It has to go through me. But I don't want to compromise the case because of money either. So that fund is always a wild card. I predict that, or I estimate there's probably another $40,000 to $50,000 out there that I've obligated myself to that we haven't paid. Sometimes it doesn't take as much work or the case resolves before the expert gets too involved, but it's a very hard thing to predict. So it also, transcripts come out of that fund. We also have just started the thing where a service where we have videos and audio clips that we can upload and then get transcripts. It really helps our staff time if we need transcripts for a case. Stuck. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that was $18,000 more. Too many clicks. I over-clicked. Sorry. All right, could we go back several to software maintenance agreements? Okay. All right, well, when we get to software maintenance agreements, you're gonna have to take control. Sorry, can you hit next slide? Keep going. Keep going. Okay. We have a case management system. We have a contract that includes some increases. We're going to need to make some modifications. We didn't build this with pre-trial hearings in mind because it didn't exist when we built this. So now we don't get a case into our system until we're appointed. Now we're gonna have to get them as they come in because we're appointed to everybody to do these pretrial detention hearings. And really that's so we can get evidence from the state's attorney's office, because the way we set up our connection was they don't give us any discovery until we're appointed. So we have to modify that. But the real increase is digital storage. So can I go to the next slide? So software maintenance agreements, I need about 15 grand more. Okay. This is the storage of digital evidence, the cost for us since we started. I spoke about this last year. So a terabyte is 1 million books. Last year when I talked to you, I had 22 terabytes. The expected cost would have been 88,000. I budgeted 22 because we built a system of tiered storage. So you can see as the line goes kind of up and then it peaks, that's when we implemented our tiered storage. So it fell dramatically. So what happens is after evidence isn't looked at for a certain amount of time, it falls into a storage that's cheaper. Okay. So now we currently have 50 terabytes. So we've more than doubled since I spoke to you last. In our original contract, the cost of 50 terabytes would be $196,000 a year. Realistically, I think we can expect another 30 terabytes over the next year, maybe more. So before tiered storage, I'd be asking for about $275,000 in this line. The good news is you can't see those numbers, they're really small, but we're paying about $1,600 a month right now. We would have been paying about $20,000 a month. The other thing we did is we added a third tier. So it's harder to get at, but those cases that really age out, we can get to them. It just takes a little bit of time to get that data back. And that's even cheaper. So we're asking for about $15,000 more in this line item, but that is peanuts compared to what it could have been. So, okay, next slide. No, keep. All right, there's another slide. So let's talk about big money. All right, next slide. Please. Can you? Oh. All right, so the bulk of my budget increase is for salaries. I need to pay more people next year. I'm working with finance. A lot of it can be delayed or I guess put in contingencies because I'm not going to be able to hire everybody December 1st. But I'm under right now. We go to the next slide. So that's 533 of the 600,000. There's going to be a lot of clicks on this one. Okay, so here's my current misdemeanor staff. Click. Okay, click again. All right, that's all right. We don't need the plan. Click through this. Don't worry, there's a plan. Keep going. All right, so up above is my felony staff. Those people, the attorneys that are in black and white are ones I want to add that I haven't added. A couple for pretrial, a couple to even out some of the court calls. That's another pretrial. Keep going. That's for focus court. The successive focus court. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so I'm adding staff. You can click to the next slide. All right, so we're in constant hiring mode. Keep going. We have a plan for that. Promise. Next slide. All right, let's play a game. Don't hit the button yet. Okay. Our county is attractive to people that want to work here, especially that want to do this kind of work, and I'm proud of that. I've hired 9 people since COVID began. So taking that into account, at the end of 2022, what's the average time of people in my office? Everybody, including the 9. Anybody? Mr. Eckhoff. Oh, no, Ms. Ozog. Yes, go ahead and click. 10.9. Okay, so next slide. I mean, so that's a really good thing, right? And I'll get to that in a minute. All right, so here's what we've done in 2022 so far, and you can just keep clicking. There's a little tally at the bottom. I did 2 felony attorneys to courtrooms, like a half an attorney in the little alcove. Kind of reduced the caseloads for the attorneys there. I added a misdemeanor lawyer to a high volume area. I added a receptionist. I didn't have one. I added a felony position in kind of a traffic area. Here's what I want to do in the future. Keep going. I need to add, there's a third alcove that I need to, so the attorneys in the alcove that I didn't add a third or a fifth attorney, their caseloads are much higher. So I need to do that still. I hope to do that this year. Keep going. In pretrial, I thought I needed 2 attorneys. I'm going to need 3 to staff it. It just doesn't work out. And I didn't consider conflicts. I think these cases are such that we can't have 1 attorney representing 2 people that are co-defendants. So 2023, here's what I want to do. So I need an attorney for some more time intensive cases. I'm not going to spend time explaining that right now, but I guess quickly, this gun case where the minimum is 21 years, that takes a lot of time and effort. And if I can peel off some of those cases from the line attorneys, we can spend enough time on those and help the attorneys churn through the ones that don't take quite as much time. I definitely need a second attorney in focus court. That is a high volume courtroom. The success of that court is great, but there's a lot of cases for currently 1 lawyer. And I need to add 2 misdemeanor attorneys if I can to balance caseloads. Okay, so next slide. Here's the fun part. Okay, so all those tally marks, there was a lot of them. I don't need any head count. I have the head count that I need. I just need it funded. The funds were staggered throughout the year. I haven't spent them all. So I just need to pay for the head count I already have. Go to the next slide. So bottom line is I need 4.8 million. I need about 600 grand more. Okay, next slide. Okay, this part is for every manager, elected official, and employees of the county. And I don't think that I'm begging for, because of inflation, although that's a thing, and that it's hard to hire and we need to adjust our starting pay because that's a thing. But in an office like mine, and probably many, people have picked up the slack. And we've been able to do that and do it well. And we have a high retention rate, but without that, we are in real trouble if we lose the people that we've counted on to this point. I've been public defender for over 12 years. I've never had a merit pool, which used to be a normal thing here. So I have nothing to offer. There have been small equity adjustments to try to keep up with the state's attorney's office, but I want to reward those that deserve it. And then, frankly, a lot of my people do, but I have no way to differentiate between 2 people doing the same job, one, busting their butt and one not. And so I think it's important that we do something. I did not put anything in my budget for any kind of increase. I'm going to leave that up to you. I know a lot of you have talked about it. I know a lot of you are receptive to that, but I didn't build it in because I don't know what is palatable to you. Next slide. So at a minimum, I want to keep up with them because I think that's important. We're all competing for lawyers and I want good ones just like he does. Okay, next slide. All right, so I'm going to tell you a story about a former county board chairman and county board many years ago. This is, of course, hypothetical, but one time a county board didn't give an increase. I think health insurance went up or something. And when that was announced, people were angry. And at the same time, we got a Snickers bar and a request to give to campus charities. And I don't know who would have done such a thing, but someone put them on interoffice envelopes and sent them back. So read the room, right? Don't be the board where people send you angry candy back. I've asked the statute of limitations is passed on this. I don't know who would have done such a thing. But I think it's important. And I think all of you know that. I think all of you know that we need to take care of the employees. So I'm done. Basically, there's 2 more slides, but it's just fluff. So questions, you can.
We'll start with member to start. We'll take a few and then we do need.
I'll
to
just
move on
ask
to
a
each
quick
other.
question. So you're saying you're leaving it up to the board, your merit increases, but I'm sure you figured out in your mind what that number is. What is that number?
$10 million. I don't know. I honestly,
You haven't,
I want to keep, I mean, if the state attorney's office is asking for 4%, then I would want at a minimum that.
I mean, we have been amenable. This board has been amenable to merit increases for the sheriff, for animal services for other departments. So I think it's fair to ask, and I just
Yeah.
want to know what the number is.
I can tell you that we're working on it, Nick and myself and our staff, is to come up with a very fair pay plan for the 23 budget. We haven't finalized that. Our plan is on the 23rd, August 23rd, is to meet probably an executive session and talk about issues like that. So more to come, but we are thinking through some of those things that are mentioned, like merit.
I'm glad because it's always less, my philosophy is it's always less expensive to keep good people than to hire and train new people. Yes, consider me a fan of that
Well,
idea.
and not only that, but we're not in a normal situation where I'm just replacing through attrition, I'm adding. And so it's doubly hard. It's hard to hire in general, but replacing people is even harder because we're having trouble just keeping up with the increased people that we need.
Member Ozog.
Jeff, I want to thank you for your presentation. You deal with very, very serious subjects, but you've injected humor into this and it's a lot of work and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Sure.
All right, if I don't see any other questions from the board, thank you very much for your presentation. Again, I appreciate you being frank, and candid with us, just what the state's attorney was. With that, I'd like to, with the leave of the body, move to item 12A. It's an informational item, but we do have our chief judge here, one of our main stakeholders, in case you have any questions. Is everyone okay with that? All right, I'll take a motion to receive and place on file item FMP 0217-22 agreement between County of DuPage and Village of Glendale Heights for the court to lease property for courtroom facilities for facilities management. It's supposed to read 36 months. The dates are correct, though, December 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2025, for a contract total not to exceed $328,589. We had a motion, second, Member Covert, and yes, Member Sharp.
Oh, I thought member Covert, you were picking, anyway, recognize Member Covert. So my question is this about this 48 months period. In Public Works, we're voting on 36 months for $245,000. So what is the difference?
I think
That was in there in my office. I called it. The reason for staff is recommending this judge 36 months, $235,000.
Okay, so what is this then? 12A, 48 months for
It's
300.
an error.
It's an error.
Correct. That would be corrected in.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. This is information.
it's informational and the dates are actually correct. It's just the 48 versus 36 month wording is more of a scrivener's error. It's actually a glitch in the computer system, is what I'm told. Chief Judge Popejoy, did you want to say anything in particular or? No? Okay, all right, great. If we don't have any questions, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that item passes. Thank you for being here. Moving back to the top of the agenda, we're at 7A. I'll take a motion to approve JPSP 0216-22, approval of contract to Dr. Elizabeth Donegan to evaluate offenders referred by the court August 19, 2022 through August 18, 2023, not to exceed 50,000 for probation in court. We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. I'll take a motion on JPSP 219-22, enter in an agreement with the 18th Judicial Court of DuPage County and Diana Hightower for Family Violence Coordinating Council Coordinator to provide administrative assistance for local councils August 10th, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, not to exceed $33,600. We had a motion and a second. Questions here? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. That passes. I will take a motion to combine items 8A, B, and C. These are all acceptance and appropriations of grants. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. I'll take a motion to approve FIR 297-22. This is a resolution for additional funding and extension of time for Illinois DCFS Children's Advocacy Center for $134,856 for the state's attorney's office. FIR 298-22, resolution acceptance appropriation of the Victims of Crime Act for the Child Advocacy Center services for the state's attorney office, $80,504. And FIR 305-22, resolution for the Adult Redeploy Illinois program for next year, $354,223 for probation and court service. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, those all pass. I'll take a motion to approve a budget transfer at 9A for the state's attorney's office, 45,000 for various IT small equipment purchases. We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, that passes. I'll take a motion on budget transfer 9B, also for the state's attorney's office, $15,000 to pay travel expenses for out-of-state witnesses. We have a motion and a second. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. I'll take a motion at 9C for probation and court services. This is $951 for a need to reclass to cover negative expenses for ARI grant for activity code. Whatever. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. I'll take a motion on 9D. This is a budget transfer for the sheriff's office, $15,923 for renewal for malware and application control software and licenses. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. I'll take a motion on 10A change order for county contract 5294-0001 serve issued to Path to Recovery Foundation to extend the time from July 30th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022, increasing the hourly rate from $20 to $30 per hour. There's no change to contract total amount. It is grant funded for probation and court. I had a motion and a second. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. I'll take a motion on 11A GPN 040-22 FY 22 DNA capacity enhancement for backlog reduction for the sheriff's office, $406,097. Tired talking here. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Moving on to 11B, I'll take a motion on grant proposal notification 43-22 Illinois Court Improvement Program for the Circuit Court Clerk's Office, $10,000. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Then we are on to 12B. I'll take a motion to receive and place on file the Public Defender's Office 2022 June monthly statistical report. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is received. And moving to old business. Do we have any old business? Do we have any new business? I just like to thank everyone for their patience. I know we had a lot to get through today, but it's all very important, those budgets. So I'll take a motion to be adjourned. All right, motion and second, all in favor? All right, thank you all. See you August 16th.